There is a law most have forgotten. Everything responds to its right name. Animals, people, even money. Call a dog, and it runs to you. Call money, and it does the same. Yet most people never speak its true name. They speak fear instead. They speak doubt instead. And then they wonder why money does not appear. Tonight, I restore to you the forgotten law of naming. In this lesson, I will show you how to speak to money as law, how to call it by its right name so it cannot escape you. You will learn why careless speech keeps money far away, why the tongue either multiplies or dissolves supply, and how a single shift in naming turns poverty into plenty. By the end, you will not only know the word to call money, but the spiritual law that forces it to obey. You may have tried budgeting, scrimping, even begging God for supply, yet the bills keep mounting and the worry grows. You may have said words of affirmation with no result, because your mouth still called money by the wrong name in idle talk. But tonight, you will see why idle words carry as much power as affirmations, why every careless statement is a seed, and how to uproot those false names and plant the true. You will feel the freedom of knowing that money is not your master, it is your servant, and it answers to your command. In this teaching, I will uncover the forgotten law of naming, why words attach vibration to money, why the subconscious repeats whatever name you give it, and how to speak so that supply must rush to you. I will show you the declarations that drew money into my students' hands sometimes in days, and I will give you the exact phrasing to write, to speak, and to guard upon your tongue. We will expose the false names, scarcity, difficulty, expense that bind money away from you, and we will replace them with truth. Stay with me, for at the end of this lesson, I will reveal the single phrase that dissolves debt like smoke, a phrase so bold that most fear to say it, but once spoken, it changes everything. Here's something most people completely miss, though it is as plain as the sunrise and as old as the scriptures. Everything in this universe responds to its name. Call a child, and he turns his head. Call a dog, and it comes running. Call a friend across the street, and she lifts her hand to wave. Do you think money is any different? It is not. Money is not dead matter. It is energy, vibration, substance clothed in form. And when you call it by its right name, it must answer. But here is the tragedy. Most people never call money by its name. They call it by false names: scarcity, expense, burden, difficulty, and then they wonder why it hides. For the law is simple. By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. If you condemn money with your tongue, it will withdraw from you. If you justify money by naming it rightly, it will come at your call. Why is this so? Because the subconscious mind is like a phonograph, recording every word you speak, every phrase you repeat, every label you attach. It does not argue, it does not reason, it does not say, "Ah, she was only joking." It simply records and plays back in form. One student of mine, tired of managing her home, often said in jest, "I wish I lived in a trunk." She laughed, her friends laughed, but the subconscious did not laugh. It wrote the record. And soon enough, her home was gone, and she found herself with nothing but a trunk. Do you see the power of naming? What you name, you claim. What you call, you recall. Every word is a seed, and every seed must bear fruit after its kind. Now, imagine what happens when you attach the wrong names to money day after day. It's hard to get. It never stays. It slips through my fingers. I can't afford it. Every one of those sentences is a decree. Every one is a seed planted in the soil of your subconscious. And what harvest can such seeds bring but lack, debt, and delay? The tongue is the rudder of life, and if you turn it towards scarcity, you steer straight into poverty. But the reverse is also true. If you call money by its right name, if you say, "Money is divine, money is obedient, money serves me under grace in perfect ways," then the subconscious accepts that record, and life must play it back as supply, abundance, and ease. Perhaps you say, "But how can words carry such power over something as real as money?" I answer you with a question. How can a dog, flesh and blood, respond to the sound of its name? How can a man stop in his tracks when his name is called across a crowded street? It is vibration. It is recognition. The name is a signal, and the ear is tuned to hear it. Money, too, is substance with vibration, and it recognizes its name. If you call it poverty, it will shrink away. If you call it abundance, it will draw near. That is why I tell you, never again say, "I can't afford it." Say instead, "It comes to me under grace." Do not say, money is hard. Say, money is obedient. Do not say, it never stays. Say, it multiplies and increases as it serves me. So tonight, write this truth upon your heart. Everything responds to its name. If you have been careless in naming money, repent of it now. Cancel every false decree, every idle word, every careless joke, and replace them with truth. Call money by its right name. Speak to it as a friend, as a servant, as a faithful companion, and it will answer. For the law cannot fail. What you name, you claim. And when you claim money rightly, it cannot hide from you any longer. What I am about to tell you may strike you as sobering, but it is the very reason why so many souls live in lack while repeating affirmations half-heartedly, wondering why their prayers seem unanswered. It is not that the law fails, but that their tongue has been working against them all along. You see, careless naming blocks supply. Every time you say, I can't afford it, you have called money by the name of impossibility, and the subconscious has recorded it. Every time you sigh, money slips right through my fingers. You have called it fleeting, and the law has echoed your decree. Every time you groan, there's never enough. You have baptized money with the name of scarcity, and the harvest of scarcity has come faithfully. The subconscious mind is an obedient servant. It does not know a jest from a decree. It does not know exaggeration from prophecy. It only hears, it only records, it only plays back. And so the words you toss about lightly, the phrases you speak in moments of irritation, the jokes you make to amuse others, these careless names are the very chains that bind your supply. I once knew a woman who, though she was comfortably provided for, loved to jest that she would end her days in the poorhouse. Her friends laughed, she laughed, but the law did not laugh. It engraved the record, and in time, her fortune was lost, her comforts vanished, and she found herself living exactly in the conditions she had prophesied for herself in jest. She had named money poverty, she had named money loss, and money obediently answered to those names. Another student of mine continually spoke of how everything is so expensive, nothing is within my reach. She did not realize she was pushing supply further and further from herself. When I instructed her to cancel that false naming and to speak instead, what I need appears, and I can afford it under grace, the tide turned. Soon she found herself supplied in unexpected ways, receiving gifts and opportunities she had never imagined, simply because she had renamed money. Do you see now why I say careless naming blocks supply? The law does not discriminate between deliberate affirmations and idle chatter. Both are seeds, and both must bear fruit. If you speak truth for 5 minutes in the morning and falsehood for the other 23 hours of the day, which seed will outnumber the other? Which harvest will fill your fields? That is why the scriptures warn that every idle word must be accounted for. There are no harmless words. Every name you give money either calls it into your hand or drives it away. Perhaps you ask, but how can I change when I have been careless for so long? Have I not already written countless false records in my subconscious? Yes, you have, but do not fear. For the same tongue that wrote the false record is the tongue that can erase it. Declare with me, I now smash and demolish every untrue record of poverty, lack, and debt in my subconscious mind. They return to the dust heap of their native nothingness, for they came from my own vain imaginings. I now make my perfect records through the Christ within records of wealth, abundance, and supply. Speak this with conviction, and you will feel the atmosphere shift, the old grooves beginning to break, the new record beginning to play. So I charge you tonight, guard your speech as you would guard treasure. Never again call money hard. Never again call it scarce. Never again name it with words of fear. For careless naming blocks supply, but careful naming multiplies it. Call money by its right name, and it will come gladly, swiftly, obediently, until your cup overflows. Now, beloved, let me show you the glorious reversal, the divine antidote to all the careless naming that has shut doors and barred windows in your life. For if false words bind, then true words must free. If wrong names push supply away, then the right name draws it swiftly to your hand. The law is never partial, it works in both directions with equal force. The tongue that condemns is the tongue that justifies. The word that shuts is the word that opens. And this is why I tell you, the right name opens the channel. Speak rightly of money, and the way is cleared, the pipes are unblocked, the floodgates swing wide. Speak wrongly, and you stand in your own way. The key is not toil, not bargaining, not chance, it is naming. I recall a woman who came to me burdened by debt and wearied by struggle. She confessed that her daily speech was filled with phrases like, "I'm always behind, there's never enough, money runs from me." I told her, "You are naming money as your enemy, and money, obedient servant that it is, must answer to the name you give it. Reverse your naming, and you will reverse your condition." She resisted at first, for she had made a habit of her lamentations. But when she finally began to declare, "Money is divine. Money comes to me under grace, in perfect ways. Money serves me and multiplies as it blesses," a great change took place. Within weeks, she received not only the funds to clear her debt, but also unexpected gifts that lifted her into freedom. The law had not changed, her naming had. So I ask you, what name will you now give to money? Will you keep calling it scarce, elusive, difficult, rebellious, or will you call it divine, obedient, plentiful, ever-present? The world scoffs at such things, for they think words are empty air. But I tell you, words are substance, words are vibration, words are seeds. Just as a farmer knows that wheat seed brings wheat and thistle seed brings thistles, so must you know that words of lack bring lack, and words of plenty bring plenty. If you want wheat, you cannot plant weeds. If you want money, you cannot plant poverty. The right name is the seed of the right harvest. Perhaps you wonder, but what if I speak rightly and see no change at first? Do not be discouraged. Seeds do not sprout in a day, and records long engraved take time to erase. But every time you speak the right name, you are cutting a new groove in your subconscious. Every time you look upon the mirror and declare, "Money is obedient, money comes to me now under grace," you are striking a new vibration. And vibration builds upon vibration until at last the whole atmosphere hums with your decree, and then, suddenly, the visible changes to match the invisible. Do not quit before the harvest. Keep naming, and the harvest must come. So here is your charge. Never again call money by a false name. Refuse to say, "I can't afford it." Refuse to declare, "It never comes." Refuse to murmur, "It slips away." Replace those names with truth. Money is here. Money is obedient. Money multiplies. Money is my servant, and it comes to me by divine right. Write these words, speak them, see them reflected back at you on your mirror, and watch the channels open. You will marvel at how swiftly supply flows when it is no longer chained by your tongue, but loosed by your decree. The right name opens the channel, and once the channel is open, no man, no circumstance, no condition can shut it again. Here's something most people never realize until it has already chained them hand and foot. Debt is not first written in ledgers or signed on paper. Debt is spoken into existence by the tongue. Every sigh of, "I can't afford it," every lament of, "I owe and I'll never catch up," every complaint of, "There's always more month than money." These idle words are the chisels that carve debt into the stone of your affairs. The subconscious, that faithful servant, takes down each phrase like a stenographer, recording without judgment, replaying without pause. And when enough of these records pile up, they form the conditions you now call your financial reality. The bill collector, the empty purse, the mounting balance, these are but the echoes of words long spoken and never revoked. I once counseled a man who lived in perpetual debt. He worked tirelessly, earned well, yet could never get ahead. When I listened to him speak, I understood why. His conversation was filled with phrases like, "I'm always behind," "I owe everybody," "I'll die in debt." His subconscious had been fed this diet for years, and his affairs mirrored it perfectly. I told him, "You are naming yourself debtor, and life is merely honoring the name you gave." He was startled, for he thought his speech harmless. But when he dared to change his words, when he began to declare daily, "God is my supply, I live in abundance, I pay all men, and all men pay me. I am free from debt by divine right, under grace, in perfect ways," the tide turned. Opportunities arose to clear what was owed. Unexpected checks came, his income increased, and within a year, he was free. His condition had been debt, but the root had been words. When the words changed, the condition had no choice but to follow. Do you see, beloved, why idle words are never idle? They are seeds, and seeds must sprout. The field of your life cannot remain bare. It will bear fruit after the kind of seed you sow. Sow lack, reap lack. Sow debt, reap debt. Sow abundance, reap abundance. The farmer who plants thorns cannot protest when his field pierces his feet. The man who sows idle words of poverty cannot complain when his affairs bleed him dry. The harvest is only the echo of the seed. Now perhaps you say, but I was only joking, only exaggerating, only expressing my feelings. The subconscious does not laugh. It does not weigh sincerity. It does not check for irony. It only records. It only plays back. That is why the scriptures declare, by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. It is not the word you mean, but the word you speak that shapes your world. This is why debt so often multiplies, not because money is lacking, but because men multiply the wrong decrees with their lips. So I say to you now, cancel every word of debt you have spoken, retract every careless phrase. Say aloud, I erase every false record of debt in my subconscious mind. They return to the dust heap of nothingness, for they came from my own vain imaginings. I now record the truth. I am free, I am supplied, I am prosperous, I am abundant. Repeat it until the new record is louder than the old. Look upon your mirror word and declare, money is my servant, not my master. Money comes to me, not debt. Money multiplies, debt dissolves. And as you speak, the atmosphere will change, the harvest will shift, and the chains will break. For idle words create debt, but conscious words create freedom, and the choice is always yours. What I am about to show you is subtle, yet it has ruined more demonstrations than open disbelief. For while many guard themselves against outright fear, they let their tongue wander in jest, speaking lightly of lack, joking about ruin, laughing at poverty, as though the subconscious could be tricked by a chuckle. But the subconscious does not laugh, beloved. It does not know jest from decree. It only hears the vibration, records the phrase, and plays it back in form. A joke of poverty carries the same weight as a prophecy of poverty. A careless jest becomes a careless harvest. Many souls who think themselves faithful are still bound, not by their serious declarations but by their playful ones. I once knew a woman who lived in comfort but constantly amused her friends by saying, I suppose I'll end in the poorhouse yet. She laughed, they laughed, but life did not laugh. The record was cut. Years later, her fortune dwindled, her comforts vanished, and she lived in conditions that mirrored her jest. She had spoken her own prophecy under the mask of humor. Another student often exclaimed, I'm so broke, it's a joke. Her friends took it lightly, but her affairs grew ever tighter, until she finally came to me weary with lack. I told her, stop calling poverty a joke. Name money rightly. Call it abundant. Call it obedient. Call it yours by divine right. When she obeyed, when she struck those false phrases from her tongue, the tide began to turn. The joke lost its power because it was no longer spoken. You see, jesting is often more dangerous than deliberate confession, because it slips past your guard. You would not dare to say with solemnity, I will end in poverty. But you might say it with a laugh. And the subconscious, ever faithful, makes no distinction. It engraves the decree and brings it into form. The law is no respecter of persons. It is no respecter of tone. Whether you laugh or weep, whether you speak in earnest or in play, the vibration is recorded and must return. That is why the scriptures warn us that every idle word must be accounted for. Even the lightest jest is not idle in spirit. So I tell you plainly, never jest with lack. Do not call yourself broke, even in play. Do not exaggerate your burdens for humor's sake. Do not weave poverty into your jokes or sprinkle despair into your laughter. For jesting that binds is jesting that plants seeds you do not wish to harvest. Replace it with joy rooted in truth. If you must jest, jest with abundance. Say, I'm so supplied that even my shadow multiplies coins. Say, money rushes to me so quickly I must laugh to keep up. Let your humor be in harmony with truth, and it will plant only good. Guard your lips, beloved, for every word is law, whether whispered in sorrow or shouted in jest. And once you know this, you can no longer plead ignorance. Choose your words as you would choose jewels. Do not throw them away for a laugh that costs you dearly. Speak with joy, yes, but joy rooted in truth, not mockery of your own abundance. And you will find that laughter, instead of binding, becomes liberating, because it is aligned with law. Beloved, what I tell you now may be the greatest safeguard of your entire demonstration. For once you grasp it and practice it faithfully, you will never again sabotage your own prosperity. It is this: you must guard your tongue. For the tongue is both sword and scepter. It wounds when used carelessly, but it rules when wielded with mastery. The tongue is the rudder of life, as James declared, and though it is a little member, it turns the entire ship. If your ship has been steering toward the rocks of lack, if your voyage has been plagued with storms of debt and waves of fear, do not look first to the winds or the waters. Look to the rudder. What have you been saying day after day? What have you been declaring about money? For the tongue has set the course, and the tongue alone can alter it. Guarding the tongue does not mean silence, only it means discipline. Many think they must muzzle themselves completely, but I tell you, the tongue must not be chained but trained. Train it to bless and not to curse. Train it to speak life and not death. Train it to call money by its right name, to prophesy abundance instead of lack, to declare obedience instead of rebellion. When you say, "I can't afford it," you have unleashed a curse upon your supply. When you say, "Money comes to me under grace, in perfect ways," you have unleashed a blessing. Both are decrees. Both are orders to the subconscious. Both are seeds in the soil of spirit. Guarding the tongue means catching yourself in the very moment of false speech and turning it instantly to truth. Cancel the careless decree and replace it with the righteous one. I recall a student who had practiced affirmations but saw little result. She came to me discouraged, saying, "I repeat the words you have given me each morning, yet my purse is still light and my bills heavy." I asked her, "And what do you say the rest of the day?" She paused, then confessed that she often complained to friends, "I'm broke, I can't manage, everything costs too much." I said, "There is your answer. You plant roses in the morning and weeds in the afternoon. Which do you expect to flourish?" She wept, for she saw her own sabotage clearly. From that day on, she guarded her tongue as a watchman guards the gate. Whenever she was tempted to speak lack, she stopped and declared instead, "God is my instant, constant, and lavish supply." And soon, the evidence appeared. The roses she planted with her tongue began to cover the weeds, and her life blossomed. Do you see, beloved, how simple the law is? You need not toil endlessly, you need not beg or plead, you need only guard your tongue. Every careless phrase is a leak in the vessel of your prosperity. Every guarded phrase is a plank in the ark of your abundance. If you wish to live free from want, build your ark word by word. Let your speech be your fortress. Keep watch at the door of your lips, and admit only the truth of abundance, only the decree of supply, only the names that call money rightly. So I charge you now, make a covenant with your tongue. Say, "I will no longer speak of lack. I will no longer joke about poverty. I will no longer call money by false names. My tongue is consecrated to truth. It speaks life, not death. It speaks abundance, not lack. It speaks obedience, not rebellion. And as I guard my tongue, my life shall be guarded also." Practice this covenant, and you will find that your words become a hedge of protection, a river of supply, a fountain of joy. For the tongue is mighty, and when it is mastered, money must obey. Here, beloved, we come to one of the most marvelous secrets of the subconscious mind, and it is why I have told you to write the word on your mirror and not merely in a notebook tucked away. The mirror is not an idle piece of glass. It is a portal to the hidden chambers of your soul. When you gaze into it, you do not simply see your face, you see the image of your own identity. And the subconscious, ever faithful, ever obedient, accepts whatever image you hold of yourself as truth. If you look into the mirror each morning and sigh, calling yourself tired, poor, unlucky, the subconscious writes it down and engraves it as your law. But if instead, you look into that glass and see yourself with the word of abundance shining before your eyes, the subconscious cannot resist it. It joins the word with the image, fuses the decree with the self, and says, "So this is who I am. This is the law. This is the record to be played." And soon the outer world must match the inner decree. The mirror works because it is repetition without effort. You may grow weary of affirmations if you try to repeat them for hours, but the mirror does the repeating for you. Each time you pass by, even if you do not pause, your eye catches the word, your mind absorbs it, your subconscious records it. Drop by drop, the groove is cut until it becomes a river. And when the river of thought flows strongly enough, it carries with it every circumstance of your life. That is why I tell you, write the word where you must see it daily, where you cannot escape it, where your very reflection becomes one with it. For what you see joined to yourself, you will become. I once knew a woman who took this instruction to heart. She wrote a single word, wealth, in bold letters on her mirror. Each morning and evening, she saw herself reflected beside it. She did not strain, she did not beg, she simply let the image sink into her heart. Within a week, an unexpected check of $50,000 came into her hands, a gift she had never imagined. The world called it chance, but I knew it was law. She had written wealth upon her mirror, and the subconscious had written wealth upon her life. Perhaps you wonder why the mirror carries more force than other methods. It is because the mirror unites word and image. To speak a word is powerful, but to see it joined with your own face magnifies it. The subconscious is most deeply impressed when the spoken word, the seen image, and the felt emotion are joined together. The mirror unites them. When you look and speak and rejoice in the word you see, you create a trinity of impression that the subconscious must obey. It cannot argue against an image so vivid, a sound so clear, a feeling so strong. So I tell you, beloved, treat your mirror as your altar. Approach it not with vanity but with reverence. Write the word boldly, look upon it daily, speak it with faith, feel it with joy. And as surely as the dawn follows the night, you will see your affairs begin to reflect what your mirror has already declared. For the mirror is not glass only. It is the gateway of the soul. And what you write upon it, you write upon your life. Beloved, what I tell you now is as vital as the seed itself. For no matter how true your word, no matter how bold your decree, no matter how faithfully you look into the mirror, if you scatter your seed through idle chatter, you weaken the harvest before it has time to grow. Secrecy is not weakness, secrecy is protection. A farmer does not dig up his seed every morning to show his neighbors. He does not tear open the soil to prove something is planted. He covers it, he waters it, he guards it until the first shoot breaks through. So, it must be with your word. When you write that name upon your mirror, let it be your holy covenant with God. Do not parade it before doubters. Do not hand it to scoffers. Do not invite the cold winds of envy to blow across it. Keep it sealed. Keep it sacred. Let it rest hidden in the soil of your subconscious until the time of manifestation. I once counseled a woman who was eager for prosperity. She learned an affirmation and began to speak it, and soon enough she felt the stirring of faith. But she could not resist telling her friends. She spoke of it at every gathering. I am speaking the word for money, she would announce, as though their approval could add strength. Instead, what did she reap? Raised eyebrows, mocking smiles, questions like daggers. Do you really believe that works? How much have you gotten yet? Isn't it foolish to expect such things? Each word of doubt struck her subconscious like frost upon a tender plant. Her faith withered. The decree lost its vibration. Nothing came. But later, when she learned the power of silence, when she held her decree close like a treasure, she saw the harvest ripen. Secrecy had protected the seed, and the seed bore fruit. Even the Master, after miracles, often charged those healed, "See thou tell no man." Why? Because a harvest too tender to withstand the voices of unbelief must be shielded. Premature testimony invites interference. Once the fruit is visible, no word of doubt can erase it. But before the sprout appears, one careless suggestion can weaken the root. Secrecy is the fence around your garden. It is the hedge that guards your word while it takes root. So, do not confuse secrecy with fear. Fear hides because it doubts. Secrecy guards because it believes. When you keep silent, you are not doubting, you are protecting. You are saying, "This word is too precious to cast before unbelieving ears. It is mine and God's until the world can see the harvest." And once the harvest appears, then let your testimony shine, for then no one can deny it, and your words may strengthen others. But until then, protect your decree. Therefore I say to you, write your word, speak it before your mirror, rejoice in it, but keep it between you and God. Hold it in the secret place until it bursts into form. For secrecy protects the seed, and the seed that is protected multiplies, while the seed that is exposed to doubt may never take root. Guard your decree as you would guard treasure, and in due season you will see the fruit no man can take from you. Beloved, let me now place into your hands the secret that makes the soil of your subconscious quicken with life, the very rain that brings forth the sprout from the hidden seed. It is thanksgiving. Without it, your word remains as a seed lying dormant in dry earth. With it, your decree breaks forth into visible form, and the harvest comes with speed. Most souls pray with long faces, beg with heavy tones, or affirm with weary repetition, as though the heavens must be persuaded to yield. But true thanksgiving is not the sigh of one who waits, it is the song of one who knows. Gratitude is the proof of possession. When you rejoice before the evidence appears, you are declaring to the law, "It is already mine." And the law, obedient and unfailing, answers, "So be it." I once desired a rose tree. I did not storm the heavens with pleading. I did not count the cost or calculate the store. I simply pictured it, gave thanks for it, and felt the joy of already possessing it. The very next day, a friend sent flowers, and by what the world would call a mistake, the florist delivered a rose tree instead of the lilies she had ordered. Was it a mistake? No, beloved. It was law. Gratitude had fertilized the seed, and the harvest was swift. Another time, a student of mine came to me with only $2, desperate and afraid. I told her, "Bless this money. Call it your magic purse. See it bulging, overflowing, jammed with bills. Give thanks for it as though it were already full." She obeyed, she rejoiced over that little purse, and soon after she received a gift of $6,000. Gratitude turned her $2 into thousands. Thanksgiving was the fertilizer that brought her demonstration into form. Why does Thanksgiving hold such power? Because it signals the subconscious that the work is already done. Fear says, "What if it never comes?" Faith says, "I know it is mine." And Thanksgiving is the sound of faith. It is the vibration of possession. When you thank God in advance, you close the gap between desire and manifestation. You align yourself with the higher law where all good already exists, and you draw it down into visible form. Thanksgiving is not an afterthought. It is the creative act itself. So I say to you, never let a day pass without rejoicing in the word on your mirror. Do not wait until the money arrives to give thanks. Thank God now. Smile at your mirror, point to the word, and say, "I praise and thank thee that this is already true. My supply is here, my abundance is here, my prosperity is established under grace and in perfect ways." Feel the joy rise within you as though you were already holding the evidence in your hand, and soon enough you will. For joy is the sound of the harvest ripening, and gratitude is the rain that brings it forth. Therefore, beloved, treat Thanksgiving as the daily watering of your seed. Each word of praise moistens the soil. Each song of joy brings forth the sprout. Each smile of faith calls the sun upon your field. And when the season is fulfilled, you will gather sheaves not of struggle but of grace, not of toil but of abundance. For Thanksgiving is the fertilizer of miracles, and the heart that rejoices will never know lack. Now, beloved, let me draw the circle complete. For you must see with clarity that the word written on your mirror is not meant to remain as something outside of you, separate, foreign, waiting at a distance to come nearer. No, the true secret of demonstration is this: the word and your very self must become one. Until you see the word as your own name, until you claim it as your very identity, you will treat it as something to be chased, something to be begged for, something to be hoped for. But when the word becomes flesh in your consciousness, when you can look into the mirror and say with unshakable calm, "That is who I am," then the unseen hastens to clothe itself in form. For the subconscious does not resist identity, it embraces it, it magnifies it, it insists upon it. Whatever you name yourself, life will echo back to you. This is why the mirror is such a holy tool. It forces you to look upon yourself with the decree beside you. It fuses your reflection with your affirmation. You do not merely say, "Money serves me." You see yourself with those words written above, and the subconscious records, "This is me, this is who I am." A man who sees himself as poor will never be rich, though he toil day and night. A woman who sees herself as lacking will repel abundance, though others pour gifts at her feet. But the one who looks upon herself and says, "I am abundance, I am prosperity, I am the channel of divine supply," will see every circumstance bend itself to that picture. The identity and the word become one, and once they are fused, they cannot be torn apart. I recall a student who was weary of failure. She had spoken affirmations before, but always in a way that made them sound separate from her. Money will come. Prosperity is near. Supply is possible. And the law answered weakly, for her words carried no identity. I instructed her instead to stand before her mirror and declare, "I am prosperity. Money serves me now. Abundance is my name." At first it felt strange to her, even presumptuous. But day after day, as she gazed into her own reflection, the strangeness faded, and the identity grew. Soon, she no longer hoped for prosperity, she lived it inwardly. And in short time, outwardly, her affairs rearranged themselves. Opportunities came, debts dissolved, her purse overflowed. The word had ceased to be a phrase, it had become herself. So I ask you, what name are you wearing? When you look in the mirror, do you call yourself poor, struggling, unlucky? Do you attach to your own soul the names that bind money away from you? If so, you must strip them off like filthy garments and clothe yourself in truth. Write the word boldly, stand before it daily, and declare, "This is me, this is my name, I am abundance, I am prosperity. I am supplied by divine right." Do not say it as if you were pleading for a visitor to arrive. Say it as one announcing a fact. Say it as one who knows. For when you know, the law has no choice but to reflect your knowing in the world around you. Identity is the strongest decree you can ever speak. You may affirm for hours that supply will come, but the moment you declare "I am supply" and believe it, the demonstration rushes to appear. The world outside must conform to the world within. As you see yourself, so shall it be. So let the word on your mirror and the image in your glass become one. And when they are fused, when no separation remains between the decree and the self, then you will live in a world where abundance is no longer a hope but a fact, not a visitor but a name, not a dream but your very identity. Beloved, here we arrive at the great shadow that has robbed more men and women of their supply than any outer thief. And it is this: fear. Fear is not an idle feeling, a passing mood to be brushed aside as harmless. No, fear is inverted faith, a false decree clothed in trembling, a prophecy spoken against your own good. Every fear is a command sent to the subconscious. Every dread is a seed planted in the dark soil of your imagination. Every what-if is a name you give to evil, and the law, which knows no jest and makes no exceptions, must record it. Fear is a false naming, and when you call money with the voice of fear, you do not call it as friend or servant, you call it as enemy, as absence, as lack. And money, faithful to the name you give, obeys. I once knew a man who so feared a particular disease that he studied it constantly, rehearsed its symptoms in his mind, and spoke of it often to those around him. He did not realize he was naming it again and again, baptizing his body with its image. The subconscious, ever obedient, etched that record deep, and in time his body manifested the very illness he had feared. He called it into form by the false decree of fear. Another woman, though longing for supply, was haunted by the words, "It will never come. I will be left without." Every glance at her purse was a fearful decree. Every sigh over her bills was an invocation of lack. And so lack remained with her faithfully, answering to the name she had given it. Do you see now why fear must be treated not as a feeling but as a command? Each time you say, "I fear I won't have enough," you are handing poverty its marching orders. Each time you declare, "I'm afraid this will fail," you are inviting failure to sit at your table. Fear is not silence. Fear is speech, and speech is law. Therefore, fear is the false decree that shapes false conditions. But here is the mercy of the law. Just as a false decree can shape poverty, so a true decree can dissolve it. Fear may have built walls, but faith can shout them down. Fear may have sown weeds, but faith can plant wheat that chokes them out. Fear may have recorded a false name, but faith can erase and rename. You need not remain bound by the decrees of yesterday. You can cancel them in an instant. Speak boldly. I erase every false decree of fear. They are powerless, they are nothing. I now declare only truth. I am supplied. I am abundant. I am fearless in the law of good. When you speak this, you cut a new record, and the false one begins to fade. So I tell you, do not treat fear lightly. Do not let it masquerade as harmless. Recognize it as the false decree it is, and cancel it on sight. Replace it with faith, with truth, with bold words of supply. Refuse to call money by names of dread, and begin to call it by names of joy. For as surely as fear has answered you with lack, faith will answer you with abundance. The choice is yours, and the law will fulfill whichever decree you give. Beloved, now that we have unmasked fear as the false decree, let us rise into the luminous truth that casts out fear forever, for fear cannot stand in the presence of its opposite. That opposite is faith. And I tell you plainly, faith is not strain. It is not tension. It is not a fevered effort to believe what you secretly doubt. Faith is the calm recognition of truth, the steady agreement with God. Faith is the hand that signs the contract heaven has already drawn up. It does not create the supply, it agrees that the supply is already finished. It does not force the harvest, it declares that the harvest is already ripe. Faith says yes to what God has already decreed. You see, the whole world teaches that life is uncertain, that money is hard, that men must strive and sweat to gain a crumb. But faith looks above appearances and says, I agree with the law of abundance. I agree with the truth that God is my supply. I agree with the eternal design that what is mine by divine right cannot be withheld. That agreement is the vibration the subconscious cannot resist. It records the decree and rushes to play it back in form. This is why idle affirmations often fail. The lips speak the words, but the heart still agrees with fear. The subconscious always obeys the deeper agreement. I once counseled a woman who lamented, I say my affirmations, but nothing comes. I asked her, what is the agreement of your heart? She confessed that each time she spoke of abundance, she also thought of her unpaid bills, her empty purse, her fear of loss. She was speaking supply but agreeing with lack. I told her, do not merely recite words. Shift your agreement. Say, God is my unfailing supply. I am one with his abundance. I thank thee, it is done. And do not speak it as though you are trying to force it. Speak it as one agreeing with what already island. She obeyed, and the miracle followed. Unexpected funds came, her bills were cleared, and her joy returned. The law had answered her agreement. Faith is not blind, it sees with the inner eye. Faith does not deny the appearance, it declares the higher truth. When the outer cries, there is not enough, faith answers, there is always enough. When the purse feels light, faith says, my purse is a magic purse that can never be emptied, for God fills it continually. When the world mocks, it cannot be done. Faith answers, with God all things are possible. This is not fantasy, it is agreement. And once you agree with God, the whole of heaven agrees with you. So I tell you, begin today to listen to the agreements of your heart. Are you aligning with fear or with truth? Are you calling money scarce or obedient? Are you naming yourself poor or supplied? Cancel the false agreements and speak the true. Declare, I agree with God that money is mine by divine right. I agree with God that supply is endless. I agree with God that abundance comes to me under grace in perfect ways. Say it until it becomes your nature. Say it until your tongue and your heart speak the same language. For when faith becomes your agreement, the law must rush to fulfill it, and you will live in the ease and freedom of one whose word and God's word are one. Beloved, now that you see faith as agreement with God, let me show you the law that makes it practical and immediate, the law that takes a false desire, a wrong picture, a crooked name, and replaces it with the true. It is the law of substitution. The mind cannot think two thoughts at once. The heart cannot hold two decrees at the same time. When fear tries to plant its seed, when the old record begins to play, when the tongue is tempted to speak lack, you do not wrestle with it, you do not reason with it, you do not argue endlessly. You simply substitute. You replace the false decree with the true one, and by repetition the true will erase the false, just as light dissolves shadow. I once had a student who longed desperately to marry a man she called A. B. She prayed, she affirmed, she pleaded, yet the relationship never bore fruit. She grew weary and came to me asking why her demonstration was delayed. I told her, you are decreeing for what may not be yours by divine right. Release the false picture. Substitute it with this affirmation. Infinite Spirit, I call in my true mate, the one who belongs to me by divine right, who will make me supremely happy. She obeyed, though it stung her to let go of the name she had clung to. But soon, A. B. drifted out of her life, and another man appeared, her true mate, who gave her joy far greater than she had imagined. The law of substitution had worked. She gave up the false name and received the true one. This is the same law you must use when fear whispers, I can't afford it. Do not argue with the thought. Do not brood over it. Substitute immediately. I can afford it under grace. God is my supply. When you are tempted to say, money never stays with me, substitute at once. Money multiplies and increases as it serves me. When your lips are about to murmur, I am always behind. Replace it instantly with, I am supplied ahead of time, under grace. in perfect ways. Every substitution is a new seed, and every new seed weakens the root of the old one. Think of a phonograph record. Once it is etched, it will play the same tune endlessly, but if you cut a new groove, the old song is drowned out and the new melody fills the room. The subconscious works the same way. Every false decree has etched its groove. But when you speak the new word, when you substitute faith for fear, abundance for lack, obedience for rebellion, you are cutting a new record. Soon enough, the old one crumbles, and the subconscious can play only the melody of truth. So I say to you, never argue with fear. Never plead with lack. Never try to fight shadows. Substitute instead. Replace the false name with the true one. Replace the crooked decree with the straight. Replace the wrong image with the right. Do this again and again, and you will find your inner life filled with light, your outer life filled with abundance. The law of substitution is the mercy of God, for it allows you to erase in a moment what you may have spoken for years. Use it faithfully, and you will see how quickly the crooked paths are made straight and the false names are forgotten, while only truth remains. Beloved, now we come to the moment when all these truths must be set to work against the last and greatest obstacle that so many face, the towering wall of lack. For lack rises like Jericho, with stones of fear stacked upon stones of doubt, mortared together with years of false decrees, until it seems no power can bring it down. But I tell you, lack is not substance. It is shadow. It is a false picture built on false words, and when the true word is spoken with faith, the wall cannot stand a moment longer. The children of Israel did not take Jericho by hammer and chisel. They did not climb ladders or throw themselves against the stones. They circled in silence, gathering power. And when the moment came, they lifted their voices in a shout, and the vibration of that shout toppled the walls flat. So must you do with lack. Do not batter yourself against it with toil. Do not bleed your hands upon its stones with endless struggle. Stand before it in silence, gather the power of your decree, and then shout the truth until the wall crumbles into dust. I once instructed a woman hemmed in by endless postponements. Every door she knocked on seemed locked, every promise broken, every opportunity delayed. It was as though life itself conspired to hold her back. I told her to declare, "The walls of lack and delay now crumble away, and I enter my promised land under grace and in perfect ways." She wrote it, she spoke it, she pictured herself stepping over the rubble into the land of her good. And soon enough, the very opportunity she had been denied was offered freely, and all delay dissolved. The wall had fallen. Not by force, not by manipulation, but by decree. This is why I tell you, never accept lack as permanent. Never look at the wall and call it immovable. Never name it as your master. For the moment you do, you strengthen it. Instead, look upon the wall and say, "You are nothing, you are false, you are already fallen." Call it crumbled, call it dust, call it gone, and the subconscious will obey. Speak abundance into the very face of scarcity, and scarcity will yield. Perhaps you say, "But my debts are so high, my purse so light, my bills so many." All the more reason to shout the decree. For the greater the wall, the greater the triumph when it falls. Do not wait for the evidence to change before you speak. Speak now, declare now. Shout now, "The walls of lack now crumble away, and I enter my promised land." Repeat it until the vibration fills your being, until you can see with the inner eye the wall already lying flat at your feet. Then watch as life rushes to confirm your vision. So I say, beloved, break your walls, not with struggle but with sound. Do not lift your fists, lift your voice. Do not bruise your body, command with your tongue. For the wall of lack is not substance but shadow, and the shadow cannot resist the light of a fearless decree. When you call money by its right name, when you shout abundance against the stones of scarcity, the walls must fall, and you will walk freely into the land prepared for you. Beloved, once the walls of lack have crumbled, you must understand the deeper truth that keeps you free, for it is not enough to tear down barriers if you do not know what to build in their place. Many are delivered from immediate want only to fall back again into struggle, because they have never learned that money has its rightful place in the divine design of their lives. Money is not your master. It is not an enemy to fear, nor a tyrant to dread. It is a servant, an instrument, a tool created to express the good that is already yours. When it flows rightly, it clothes you, feeds you, houses you, blesses you, and allows you to bless others. When it is misnamed, misused, or misunderstood, it becomes a false idol that enslaves. But in the divine design, money has only one role: to serve. Each soul carries within it a perfect blueprint, a divine pattern that includes not only your work, your relationships, your health, but also your supply. It is not random, it is not uncertain, it is not a gamble. It is written into the plan of your life as surely as the oak is written into the acorn. And when you call money by its right name, when you see it as divine substance flowing under grace, you align with that design and money takes its rightful place as your obedient servant. The chaos ends, the anxiety dissolves, the endless chasing ceases, and you find yourself supplied in ways that are natural, effortless, and permanent. I once counseled a student who had been chasing money with desperation. She took jobs she hated, clung to people she did not love, bent herself out of shape, all because she believed money was her master. She said, "If I do not obey money, I will perish." I told her, "You have reversed the truth. Money is not your master. You are its master. You must call it back into its place." I gave her the affirmation, "Money is divine. Money is obedient. Money serves me, and it cannot enslave me." She wrote it, she spoke it, she placed it on her mirror. At first her mind rebelled, for the old belief was strong. But day by day, the new record was cut, and soon she found herself no longer desperate, no longer enslaved. Money began to come without toil. Opportunities arose that aligned with her gifts. She discovered the joy of being in her divine design, where money flowed as naturally as water down a stream. So I ask you now, what place have you given money in your design? Have you enthroned it as master, letting it dictate your choices, your moods, your relationships? Or have you named it rightly, as servant, as instrument, as supply that obeys your word? Until you restore it to its rightful place, you will know no peace. But the moment you declare, "Money is divine, money is obedient, money serves me under grace in perfect ways," you step into alignment with the eternal blueprint. And then, beloved, money will no longer torment you, no longer flee from you, no longer bind you. It will serve you joyfully, abundantly, faithfully, as part of your divine inheritance. Remember this always. Money has no will of its own. It is not good or evil in itself. It is shaped by the names you give it, directed by the decrees you speak, guided by the agreement you make. In the hands of fear, it becomes a chain. In the hands of faith, it becomes a key. In the divine design, it is your obedient servant, and you its fearless master. Call it rightly, and it will answer. Place it rightly, and it will remain. For money in its divine place is not a torment but a blessing, not a master but a friend, not a tyrant but a faithful helper in the great game of life. Beloved, now that you know money's rightful place in your divine design, I must take you deeper still, to the very edge where most turn back in fear. For here stands the word the world has stamped with a warning. Forbidden. How many treasures have been hidden behind that word? How many souls have been held in bondage by it? The world whispers, "Do not speak of money with reverence. Do not command it. Do not name it. To do so is forbidden." And so men and women, trembling under false teaching, live as beggars when they were born as heirs. But I tell you the truth. What the world calls forbidden is often only hidden, waiting for the faithful to uncover it. The mysteries of the kingdom are not cast before the scoffer. They are revealed to those who dare to believe. The forbidden is not denied, it is concealed, and when you walk by faith, it is unveiled. Think of the story of Ali Baba, that ancient parable dressed as a tale. The treasure of the mountain was not yielded to brute strength. No hammer could break it, no rope could pull it, no force could open the sealed cavern. It yielded only to the decree, "Open Sesame." The world calls it legend, but I call it law, for everything responds to its right name, and treasures are unlocked by the tongue. Your own abundance is often sealed behind walls the world calls impossible, forbidden, unattainable. But when you speak the right word, when you call money by its name under grace and in perfect ways, the door rolls back of its own accord, and what was hidden is revealed. I recall a student who trembled as she came to me. She had been taught all her life that to speak boldly of money was a sin, that to claim abundance was pride, that to command supply was forbidden. Her lips quivered when I told her to declare, "Money is divine, money is obedient, money serves me," she whispered. "Is it not wrong to speak so?" I said, "You are not commanding God. You are commanding the law. and the law is God in action. You are not seizing what is not yours. You are claiming what has been yours from eternity, what was written into your divine design. The only thing forbidden is to live beneath your inheritance. She obeyed, though she felt fearful at first. She wrote the word on her mirror. She spoke it in secret. She gave thanks before seeing. And soon, the very debts that had weighed her down dissolved in miraculous ways. The law had answered, because she dared to live beyond the forbidden. So I ask you, what has fear forbidden you to claim? Has the world told you it is forbidden to be rich while others are poor? Has it told you it is forbidden to expect ease instead of struggle? Has it told you it is forbidden to command money instead of chasing it? These are the lies of fear, the chains of ignorance. Cast them off, for the law is no respecter of persons, and all that the Father hath is yours. The supply of God is endless, and the door is never truly shut except by the names you dare not speak. Therefore, beloved, tonight I call you to live beyond the forbidden. Write the word upon your mirror. Call money by its rightful name. Do not tremble before shadows. Do not bow before false warnings. For the treasures of the Spirit are not locked against you. They are sealed only until faith arises to claim them. And once you dare to name them, once you dare to command them, once you dare to live beyond the forbidden, the storehouses of heaven fling open, and you step at last into the liberty of your inheritance. Beloved, we have walked a long path together in this teaching, from the moment you first heard that money answers to its name, through the sobering truth that careless words can bind supply, into the secret of the mirror where word and self become one, across the shadowed valley where fear masquerades as prophecy, and at last into the radiant heights of faith, substitution, and divine design. And now the only thing left is to seal the word, to press it so deeply into your heart that no doubt can uproot it, to crown it with thanksgiving so pure that the heavens must respond, to close this lesson not as an echo in your ear, but as a living decree on your tongue. For words heard may inspire, but words spoken transform. Until you speak, until you claim, until you declare, the law lies waiting. But once the word is uttered with faith, the law rushes into action, and your world begins to change. So let us do it together, here and now. Stand before the mirror of your imagination and see yourself reflected beside the decree. Say with me, money, you are divine. You are obedient. You come to me now, by divine right, under grace, in perfect ways. You serve me, and you cannot enslave me. Speak it again, not as one begging, but as one commanding. Speak it not as one hoping, but as one knowing. Speak it until every fiber of your being hums with the vibration, until the subconscious records it in letters of fire, until the unseen bends itself to obey. For this is the final step, sealing the word. Without it, the seed remains loose in the wind. With it, the harvest is guaranteed. And here is my challenge to you. Do not let this teaching remain a pleasant thought, a curiosity tucked away for another day. Write the word on your mirror tonight. Do not delay, do not discuss. Do not scatter it in chatter. Write it, guard it, bless it, and let it face you every morning and evening until it becomes your name. Look upon it and see yourself one with it. Call money by its right name, and watch as the channel opens, the walls fall, the debts dissolve, and the supply rushes in as though it had been waiting all along. For it has been waiting not for God, not for men, not for chance, but for your decree. And when your demonstration comes, and it will remember to testify, not in idle boasting, but as proof that the law is true. Say, I called money by its name, and it answered. For this testimony will strengthen you for the next decree, and remind you that life is not a battle of struggle but a game of words, and the player who speaks rightly always wins. And now, beloved, I leave you with one more truth to carry you forward. There is a phrase short, common, spoken by almost every tongue each day, that cancels miracles as swiftly as they come. Most people use it without knowing, and with it they drive supply away, even as they call it. In my next teaching, I will reveal this forbidden phrase, the one word you must erase from your tongue forever if you wish to hold what you have called. Do not miss it. For once you know it, you will never sabotage yourself again. Until then, stand before your mirror, speak your decree, seal your word with thanksgiving, and rejoice. For money answers to its name, and the name you give it tonight will shape the harvest of your tomorrow.